Okay, now to get into the fun stuff. And so the priorities that are in the plan for our facilities, of course, is the capital development priority list. And this actually, we had given ourselves a 1-year deadline to get that done. That has already been at least initially worked on. Parks and Rec Commission still needs to look at it and see if they agree with that before we would bring that forward. That would also come with the capital projects cost forecast when we bring that to you. Acquiring property in the vicinity of downtown. What we're saying here is that we need to look at what we have for possibilities and see if anything there would work for the city and as a park, or it could even be as small as a spot for some public art or something like that that's designated. So even though there's not a lot of space, there could be spaces that we could take advantage of. Also, just acquiring land as necessary for parks, and in particular on this was for pathways. So we'd be working with the Paradise Path Task Force considerably for this part. Initiating a fundraising program, even though we do actively look for grants and other forms of financial participation. I would like to see a more formalized process of doing that, and so that's what we'll be looking at here. That way we're just systematically going through what's out there instead of just when we're thinking about it doing it. Designing and constructing new facilities. Of course, this goes without saying. It's what our needs are, looking at them, prioritizing them, and figuring out funding mechanisms to make that happen. Expand and, I'm sorry?
And that is not a priority list.
It is not a priority list. And you'll see in the end I've got a few amendments here so that there's no confusion with that.
What's the feasibility of creating a new, larger dog park down on Palouse River Drive on our property?
All kinds of possibilities.
Yeah.
We have 44 acres.
Yeah, you heard me mumbling that over here, didn't you,
No.
Walter?
Yeah.
Well, great minds and all that.
Tom was mumbling it too.
If you, as you were going through the master plan, there is a section in there where there is discussion that any of our properties, as we figure out our development plans, should look at not just dog parks, but should include dog parks as if not that park being a dog park, but possibly portions if it's larger.
I wasn't suggesting the entire 44 acres.
I know that. I was just
That's
messing
for a
with you.
very large dog.
But it does face south.
It does face south, and the entire north side of the river, you know, the original plan, that was where the parking was. The plan before it went into hibernation, or its death spiral, whatever you want to call it, that's completely open. So for parks, passive park, whatever you want, be an awesome location for more dog park.
Sue's idea, or Tom's.
Or yours.
And of course, the expand and or improve the existing facilities. And this is where we'll be making the change. This says as follows, and that sort of leads you to believe that that's a priority list or in order of priority, but it's not. They're just the priorities that they need to look at. The plans, goals, and objectives for our pathways, greenways, and linear connections. We need a comprehensive network of paths and linear parks connecting all parts of the community. In a nutshell, that's what this this goal is. And so we have several things there that we would be considering as we go along. And would you like me to go into details of this, or just go ahead?
Council members, any?
Go for it. Go ahead.
You're right.
Okay.
Okay, continue, please.
All right. Environmental conservation, preservation, and sensitive planning. Of course, the goal is to protect and sustain natural areas and resource features, environmentally sensitive lands. As you know, through the years, we've had several projects where we've had PCEI come through and work over our the creeks and rivers. West Palouse River Drive property is a good example. Lola Clyde Park's a good example. So those kinds of things, and very important. And I have one piece here, the Master Gardener Naturalist Program, that should say explore collaborative programming with that group. It doesn't mean to start a Master Gardener program. It already exists. Our cultural enhancement, in a nutshell, what this means is that we really need to be looking to do a lot more collaboration and work with the Arts Department, Arts Commission, and from the beginnings, the roots of the different parks that we have and facilities. So lots there, but that's, in a nutshell, that's what that is. Convenience and accessibility of public parks and our other spaces. Goes without saying, an even and equal distribution of our parks and our open spaces. And with that, we've talked about that. That's one of the important pieces for our Paradise Path Task Force, is to help us with that linkage. And we have with this, we've given ourselves a deadline that each of our present properties that are undeveloped, to have a development plan for each of those within 2 years of adoption of this. Very aggressive schedule, but I'm sorry, that was for new parks. I'm sorry, new acquisitions from this point on. And then our existing undeveloped parks within 5 years of adoption of this. And that, you know, the purpose of that is, for example, here shortly, Elisa Stone and I will be approaching you to request permission to apply for some funding that will take care of, if we get it, some of the road improvements for Lola Clyde Park and pathway system through Lola Clyde Park. But we don't have a plan for Lola Clyde Park. So it's kind of backward. So we need these things to be planned so that when we have opportunities, not to mention our regular scheduled, planned funding process, but when we have opportunities, we know what we're going to do with that money. And it helps you to identify new sources as well. So we have that. We'll be considering the adoption of the NRPA standards, which is what we go by anyway, but we don't have any official adoption of those standards. We would have to work with the language of that so it doesn't necessarily tie us where our hands are tied. They are just standards, they're not requirements. And so, but that way everybody's comfortable with when we say we're dealing with standards, what we're talking about. And then the Parkland Dedication Ordinance, and this will be a change that I will be asking for tonight. We've had a request that possibly, instead of reviewing the ordinance within 5 years of the adoption of this plan, we're going to request this within 2 years, so we can jump right on that. And I think it's very, very doable. It'll be a little bit of a complicated process, but every time we have a parkland dedication that comes up, the issue comes up, so we just need to jump on that one right off. We were talking about dog parks through this one, something for consideration, whether it goes anywhere or not, but it should be considered, and that is off-leash time periods in suitable existing parks. So, I mean, that also increases, in a nutshell, your dog park space. But there's issues that can come with that. So, yes, sir.
Just real quick, I was thinking back, we talked about the
areas that were not necessarily city property, but considered parks, we also included the fairgrounds in that?
No.
Okay, so that's not included, but school district property was.
School district was.
And the Chipman Trail was on one of our
And the Chipman Trail was in there as well.
Well, Chipman Trail that's in here is just the city's
Idaho
portion of
Park,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, just a little few more acres or so.
Yeah, lots of ways, and it's in here, lots of ways to increase that acreage. The acreage is, a lot of the acreage is there, and it's being used appropriately. It's just that the way things are, that the definition needs to work, so we get that credit.
But all it was included, I know there are a couple places that are, water department owns property that
And they are included in
is,
here.
okay. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, diversity and availability of recreation programming. The primary issue here that we will deal with will be emphasizing the healthy, active lifestyles, implementing the newly focused programs within 2 years of adoption of this program. A lot of the programs that we have are already doing this. We just don't spell it out that that's a benefit of them. We're still using old standard language for the programs, and a lot of benefits that people just don't realize they're getting other than fun. And fun is good, but if you can have fun and get healthy at the same time, or help your kids stay healthy, it's a good thing. Effective management, administration, and partnerships, and this is where looking at possibility of is there value of contracting some of our park maintenance activities. I don't know just what that would be right off, but we should be looking at those things for efficiencies and costs. Possibly the Adopt a Park programs, grants, donations, and of course partnerships. Possibly things with partnerships with private entities as well.
So Dwight, I don't know if it'd be in that section or not, but we've talked from time to time about the council's prerogative to allow minimal development of parkland for more immediate use than, these long-range plans that are going to require major investments in transportation infrastructure along their frontages. And, the public saying, hey, this is a public parcel, how come we can't go out there and just walk around, or, whatever it might be. And is that considered in this plan someplace where, they say this is a good spot to just, give me a sport, cyclocross is what they said, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm along those same lines too in my thinking. The last thing I want to have us do is wait till the plan is fully implemented before people in this community can use public spaces. There are lots of examples that we have right now in Moscow where they're public spaces where if people knew they were public grounds, they could go plunk down and have a picnic, or they could go walk their dog responsibly on a leash, or whatever it might be. Near where I work, at Lola Clyde Park, there's a group of people that mow the grass and put up a volleyball court because they figured it out that it's a public park.
Yes, they
But,
live right across the
we've-
street too.
Yeah, and they live right across the street. It's great that people get to use it, but I think it would be very helpful. As at a minimum, I think we should put signs up and say, "This is somebody park. It's a public park. Let it be used."
So right before I call in Sue, Dwight, would this be the place if Tom was interested in that piece of it as a bullet point, or would it
This
be in one of
addresses
your
it.
other?
Well, you could. Well, I would just consider that part of the development strategy. And matter of fact, we're going a little off here, but it is on the Parks and Rec Commission's. Or I'm sorry, it's already been through Parks and Rec Commission, but I have it on. I think Monday. This next Monday's one of the two committees at council to talk about specifically that very item.
Oh, good.
Do you want to sign undeveloped properties, because there's issues for signing it too that aren't positive. So just get it all out there and decide what you want to do. And
Sue?
Well, I think when I sat down and discussed this with you, Dwight, you were saying that right now, according to city ordinances, we can't develop a park until, let's say, the sidewalks and the infrastructure and everything's already there. So the value of having a plan is that the council could authorize phasing. And can you explain that, so that phasing would allow us to do something like what they're talking about?
well,
As long
that
as
pretty
we
much
have a-
explains it.
Yeah.
Well, you were elaborating
I
the
don't know that
point
it's
of that. In other
ordinance,
words,
but-
we will, when, in phasing, we say, okay, we're gonna pave the street to the center line, we're gonna put in the sewer, we're gonna put in the sidewalk, we're gonna put in blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. But right now, you have to do all that before anybody can use the park, and if it's phased, then, since we have a date certain, it's on the list that it will happen, that as long as we say it's going to happen, it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that order, is what I got from you with your request for phasing.
Correct. And I've got a whole slide on that.
Okay, good. I just didn't want that to get lost.
So a problem I can see running into, if you do that, how do you tell a developer he can't phase his subdivision?
They do.
No, they don't. They get the public infrastructure in before that subdivision is allowed to have building permit.